Well, good morning. We got to this spot last night. We're at a place called the Rochester Panel, or the Rochester Creek Panel. And it was supposed to rain, so we took our spot and said it was supposed to be nice today, which it is right now. But it turned out it just rained and rained and rained. It's after 10 o'clock this morning and it just stopped raining. Sun's come out. We're trying to get as much solar as we can. There's a good chance we're just going to hang out here today. We're supposed to have about an hour and a half to 2 hour break in the sun. However, the place we're going, let me show you, to walk down into this canyon. And I really don't want to get caught in the rain down there. Walk down this path here, it cuts down, and I think it goes down pretty much close to the bottom. Now yesterday, barely see those mountains. That's where the rain was, and the wind was coming from that direction. But yeah, it's a gorgeous valley. Very remote. I was actually surprised there were people here yesterday. I think one couple might have spent the night. They had already hiked it. And then right down here, coming into view, is, I'm guessing, the town of Emory. We did not go all the way to Emory. We'd gone up, taken a cutoff road that took us around to Castledale. So one of the things also interesting about this particular area is that apparently it was the part of the Spanish Trail. So we got here and we're kind of wondering, like, so what the heck is this all about, right? And I don't know if you can see him as well today as we could see him yesterday, but here, let me show you. You can see those metal cutouts. But if you look real close, the hats are very much like the Spanish hats. There's a sign over here. Let's go get the sign. Well, I'm gonna put this on and you guys can read it at your leisure and stop it, pause it, if you want to get a better shot at reading it. It's a Muddy Creek, even though it's called the Rochester Creek Panel. It's also called the Rochester Panel, but it's the Muddy Creek that goes through this area. Don't ask me. Okay, well, I'm assuming we will see you tomorrow morning. In fact, I was going to fly the drone. I can almost fly the drone in this. Apparently I lied. Carol,
you were mistaken.
I was mistaken. Carol came back. She had been off on a little jaunt, I guess, and said, let's go. So we're going to try it. At least we have our raincoats with us, so hopefully that'll, I sweat more under the raincoat than probably I'd get wet from the rain, but it's what it is. We are off and down. Stay on designated routes, the sign says. Of course, it points the other way. Kind of have to maneuver around these rocks, finding ways down.
This down is good and grippy. It's just
yeah, the long slog down. But man, I saw this cool cave here. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was trying to see if it was big enough for a shelter, but I don't think so. We do have a pointing sign going the way we have to go. And I'll show you anything else that's interesting along the way. So it's been kind of interesting because, you know, we started walking down into the canyon, and now essentially we're walking up. Almost looks like a petroglyph up there, but I'm not going. It hasn't been a bad walk as far as there's a few rock obstacles, and so this might be like the worst little area here where you have to step over this. Oh man, look at the gorgeous canyon. All right, well, we've come to our first little panel, and this is nothing as to what we're gonna be seeing, but kind of interesting. Seems like a very primitive, I'm gonna guess deer, maybe antelope, because the horns are straight. Got that circle in the Those always looked like birds. A lot of times they're pointed downwards, but I don't know. Just kind of a weird scratch, isn't it? It's not really a snake, or not obviously a snake. All right, we are going to push on. Trigger's all ready. You ready, Triggs? All right, let's go. I was just hearing a bunch of rushing water. I would say that is Muddy Creek, probably. And I'm sure it's in what would be considered a flood stage. Wow, look at that. Yeah, so at this point, climbed down, we've climbed up, and now we're kind of on a ridge here. Let me see if we can get that here. Yeah, we're just kind of on the ridge line. The only bad thing so far is with it being wet. Most of it has been fine, but we hit one patch that I would say is like bentonite clay, and my shoes feel about 3 times heavier right now, and I'm trying to use the rocks to get off the mud. Oh, and here we are at the final climb. You'd think this panel would be down on terra firma, but it's not. And I'm leaving it as a big surprise here. The Rochester Panel. So the first interesting thing to talk about is this sort of rainbow shape in the middle. And you can see the little lines in different places on it. And from my understanding, they discovered that putting a pole up back by the rocks here, the sun at different times of the year would hit different marks on the wall to let them know the seasons, planting seasons, I guess, and such. That's typical. But let's take a look at some detail here. What's interesting to me are these big guys. I mean, what is that? You know, it's kind of like, is it a hippopotamus or something? And then you got this guy. What did they picture that was so long and spiky on top? But here, before I forget, look at this line. So that line runs all the way down. And you see different things on it. So like right here is sort of a humanistic sort of form, ET sort of form. And then as you come down, it looks like a line with 2 balls at the end of it, which intersects with that crazy beast there on the left. And it just comes down through. And then you have the circles. Fairly close there, and then a little further apart. Can't tell if that is supposed to be, I think that's part of the humanistic form there on the right of the line, and then got a couple more of those circles close together, smaller one, bigger one. Yeah, I don't know. And I just noticed something here. It's not on the panel. We have a shield form here. It's interesting because you wonder, is it a different culture? And then up above the shield here, you see the 3 circles, larger circles, and then you have a whole line of these smaller circles. And then this looks like a humanistic form there. Got some lines over here. This is really fascinating. This is very fascinating. Okay, let's get back to the Rochester Panel. Now this is kind of a weird form, isn't it? It's like it's got wings and antenna. Man, you can't make this stuff up, huh, guys? That's kind of interesting. Sort of a form and it's hanging genitals, I don't know. You know, is it giving birth? I don't know. Should we call this guy the conductor? Doesn't it look like he's standing there with a wand? It's a pretty long humanistic form. I got the foot there on the right. Look at this. It almost looks like the animal has two heads, but I think it's supposed to be two animals. And look at that. Must be an elk or something with that rack. This is an interesting form right here. Is it a spider? But this one, I noticed this one up here with the big bulging eyes. You know, is that an owl? I don't know. Is this over here? Is this like an early Kilroy? Just kind of peeking over the top of the rainbow thing here. So again, I mean, you know, if they had sort of an astronomical use of this hair, then are the placement of all these other forms significant to that? So I'm going to point out something here I'm coming to. And that's this form in the middle. It almost looks like it's given birth. And as we found at that fertility site in Wyoming, there's sort of a hole in the abdomen or in the womb area, like a stick is ground into it or something. And if you got an interpretation of it, let me know. I mean, this stuff is just crazy. That looks like a bird, doesn't it? Yeah. Maybe a vulture. What's this guy here? Two things. That looks like a tooth with rings around it. I don't think I got this guy down here. That's certainly bizarre, isn't it? It almost feels like that spiral is somehow enclosed in this vortex thingamajigger around it. What is that person doing? We have this line, but we also have like the necklace there, which I thought was interesting. Well, my back is to the Rochester panel right now. Yeah, I don't know if these are authentic or not, but kind of reminds me, is it drawings in Pompeii or something in Italy that you can go see? Let's go around the corner here. We have another solo man. You remember we saw that at that one place that was supposed to have the dinosaur tracks, which did, but we didn't find them. And it really makes me wonder about the significance of that. Here we go. Now this is probably pretty old. Parallel lines, was it 3 of them? There. Might have something up there. Is that a head? Almost does look like a head, doesn't it? At least it does to me on the back of the camera. Very hard to see in person. Now that looks like it could be a mountain lion and a elk or something. I don't know, it looks like a witch on a broom, doesn't it? Going yeehaw. I'm not making fun of it. It just, you know, kind of hits you certain ways. And the footprints. Then you got the guy with the pack. Now this one's a lot more angular, whereas a lot of times you see they're much more bent over and curvilinear lines. And then more of the same type of footprints going over here. Oh, and then you got this figure. And that's an interesting one. I don't know if I got these guys over here. All right. Well, the Rochester Panel. Wow, man, how awesome is this? You know, this video, I might, you know, I don't know how long it'll be, but it could end up being one of its own. It's just nice sometimes to cover one place. I mean, there's so much stuff there, and I guess, you know, in a way you're either interested in it or you're not, so you're going to watch it or you're not, and no sense in putting a whole lot of other stuff on there and that someone might be interested in that isn't in this sort of thing. So anyway, I'll try to work it out where we've got this everything, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, I mean, it'd be really cool to hear what your interpretations of some of these things are. So some of them could be pretty wild, actually. Some of them I didn't want to comment on what they were. All right, we'll see you later.